today's topic is how your childhood shapes your flow state, how to biohack stress and anxiety. So you should be thinking, what is the flow state and what is stress and anxiety? All these things we're going to go through today. Okay. Before we begin, just want to do a quick intro about me. This is the best picture of me I have, hence why it's everywhere. I'm originally from Iran, so my parents are from Iran, but I was born in Sweden. So they emigrated there, and that's where I was born. And then now I'm living in England. A little bit about me: I stumbled through my secondary school and primary school here in England, and I eventually studied pharmacy and became a pharmacist. In my job as a pharmacist, I was working, well. It was a successful career. In the job, I was working in a flagship Walgreens store, so we were managing large teams, which had like personal interest and patient interests. And you also have the commercial interests from the big corporate side. So it was quite difficult to manage the expectation of the bosses and the team and the patients. There was definitely a bit of a struggle to get, when people have a different agenda to you, to try to meet somewhere in the middle. So communication was a big thing here. The reason I studied pharmacy was because I didn't get the grades to study dentistry. So then when an opportunity came to study dentistry, I decided to go for it. The studies were difficult. And part of what I'm doing now was related to my difficulties when I was studying. What I had to do to study and retain information was much harder, or much more drastic, should we say, than everyone else. Anyway, I got over the finish line using my strange methods and techniques, and I qualified, and I was working in dentistry. And the money was good here too, and running a dental practice was also good. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. The business side of it was very interesting. And of course, the money was good. Why was I doubt it? But there was something inside me that was there in pharmacy that I wasn't hitting the spot with. And same within dentistry, it came back. And even running the business, I thought I would, that spot would be filled inside me. However, it wasn't. So as I kept putting pressure on myself, and, don't really care about this mental health thing, what is it really? I eventually had a ADHD diagnosis, which was a surprise to say the least. I didn't really know anything about it, so I was told to do X, Y, Z, and I didn't really agree with taking medicines, and I felt a bit low. I felt like my self-esteem had taken a hit. I felt a bit labeled. Maybe I was a bit insecure about it. I don't know. However, I decided to educate myself a bit on it, so I did a diploma, CPCAB, mental health diploma. So this is like the governing body of, mental health. It's the governing, I think, for counseling and psychiatry in England and Europe. So yeah, don't quote me on Europe. I'm sure you'll let me know if it is in Germany or not. But yeah, so I got this diploma, and that's what led me into my line now. So that's the intro over. So today's agenda, I'm gonna take you right from the basic to slightly complex, but we're taking it nice and steady. Hopefully you'll love my diagrams, because that is the main thing. So what is stress and anxiety? What is the flow state? How do we stay in the flow state? And what influence does my childhood have? How is this even related? So hopefully by the end of today, you're going to be like this dog, and you're going to be biohacking yourself, and you'll have a new in-look into what's going on inside you and how to basically manage it and turn yourself up and down however you want. That's a little matrix thing, but anyway. So what is stress? So stress is your body's natural reaction to a situation or object, the stressor. Obviously, everything starts with a short definition, so we have to just touch this. So something that makes you stressed or stresses you out is something we call the stressor. And what that does is putting pressure on you to perform better, right? So this could be your stress. It could be someone you're in a relationship with. It could be work. It could be you going to the gym. You're going to put pressure on your body, and your body will have to perform. So how can we show this in a nice diagram? The stressor is going to invoke pressure on your body, and then your body will have to overcome this. However, how much of this pressure turns into stress is varied from person to person. For some people, very little stress might come out from the pressure. Well, why is this? This is what we're going to look at now. I'm going to show you this in a different way, which is the theme of today is I will show you a concept and then I'll show you in multiple ways. You're not leaving here without getting it, basically. So what is the relationship between pressure and skill? So on the left, we have pressure. On the bottom, we have skill. So obviously, you know, in work, while you're experiencing work or a number of relationships you've been, your skill will improve, which means you can take more pressure. So you can say here that the more your skill improves, the more you can resist pressure. So if you put someone in a job, which is, you know, a difficult job and they haven't been in it forever, or they've just first day, the pressure is going to be too much for them. And I'm sure you guys have seen it when people get stressed out and they can't cope. So this area above the line, we can say is stress. And this area below is where you're not interested in the job because you're too easy. That's if you're basically too high skilled for the job and the job is just, you know, it's not that, it's just not doing it for you. It's just too boring. It's too easy. Your skills are too high, right? This diagram looks nice, right? But anyone who's been on this planet for 5 minutes knows this is not true. And this is what everyone, all the coaches and everyone, they're all selling you this. Because actually nothing is a straight line, and especially nothing to do with humans. So it's actually more of an up and down. So you're going up and down through the day. This can be days, weeks, or even months. You know, this time frame is however it can be. It's not like minutes. That's what I'm trying to say. So actually, the thing we're looking at looks something like this. So as you can see here, there's bits where you go into the stress and you go into the uninterested. And this happens through time. And if, I mean, depending on your age or how experienced you are with work, you know you go through phases with weeks and months. The key here is, as we were explaining at the start, at some point it goes from pressure to stress, and at some point it goes from unmotivated to uninterested. So in these areas is what we call like how flexible your system is, let's say. Let's say how flexible you are, and this is judged by micro variables. So you're going up and down here based on micro variables that your systems inside your body are experiencing that you are maybe not so aware of. These micro variables are what can be tuned to help the flexibility of your system. Okay. So what does someone look like who is too much in the red? I know you guys are probably thinking, you know, someone who looks, you know, stressed when they're stressed. And, you know, it is pretty obvious. Some people are acting like a deer in headlights. So they'll be like looking around. They won't really be calm in any sense of the word. They'll be like quickly shifting from face to face or jumping around the room. They'll also have, they will also have a bad concept of time. So also what will happen is they will feel like time is slipping away. All of a sudden they'll be at Christmas and they'll go, oh, where did this year go? You know, you've been in that area at the top too long. Or people will feel like they can't communicate with people because they get a bit over entitled about their skill, and they'll feel like they only can make connection with someone who's in the exact same situation as them, or someone who deals with the exact same stresses as them. So you can kind of feel isolated in a certain sense because you feel like nobody understands what's going on. This is all things I've experienced, by the way. So I'm talking from firsthand experience. So now back to our diagram. So we said we have pressure on the left and skill on the bottom. And if you can guess by now, there's an area where we want to stay. Okay, this area is a nice cylinder, and this is bound here where we don't want to get too stressed, but we want to feel the pressure of work, and also down below. So this area below, in between this cylinder, is what I call the flow state. Okay, this is the place where you're operating very fluidly at work. You're aware of what's going on. You can be attentive, you can work hard, and you know what to do to make yourself turn up. So we're going to zoom in on this diagram a little bit, and this diagram will all make sense at the end. So in this area here, we can say this is a high energy state. Your body, which is controlled by your nervous system, is kind of turning up, okay? So you're turning like hyper focused. You know, you're going to be anxious or stressed. People here can have bad memory, and it can be emotional mismatch because what you or I or they are experiencing is different. So this is characterized by a high energy state. And then at the bottom, we can say when you start dipping into these areas, these are low energy states. So you can group what you're feeling or how you're behaving into like two main groups: high energy state and low energy state. And I'm sure you've all heard, everyone loves talking about burnout, which is true. It is real, but you know, it doesn't have to be a cliche or some imaginary place. So now you've noticed that actually anxious and stressed is there. And I said I was going to explain to you what it was, and I am. So anxious and stressed are both descriptions that we have for high energy states, right? So as far as we know, we are the only mammal that actually communicates what we are feeling to someone else. So when someone tells you, I'm sure everyone's had it, when someone tells you, oh, today was a hard day at work, I'm stressed. And you're thinking, oh, that's not stressful, right? That's not what I call stress, right? That's because no one can tell you what this thing inside you feels in them, because everyone has their own experience. In the same way that you can go for many years of your life being colorblind and you thinking that green is green outside or grass is green until you have a colorblind test, you don't know, because how do you describe that? So describing these phenomena are quite hard, and they're not very easy to communicate. It's almost like being illiterate almost, because we don't have a way to measure how intense they are in each of us. But the point is, these are all descriptions of high energy states from our system. So what micro variables can affect your flow state? In a minute or two, we're going to have a little break and we can have a little chat. So what micro variables are the things that make you go up and down through the day? Okay, these are the small things that make you activated or deactivated or just continually activated till you come down. So we're going to now convert our cylinder into a 3D cylinder. And now this represents all the systems inside your body that control those micro variables. Okay, so our cylinder has now been turned into this side pie chart. And because we're not in the 1950s, I'm going to add a little bit of color to this, okay? So now we have all of these systems inside our bodies that control whether we're going up or down, or control the micro variables, okay? So now if we rotate it and give this names, these are the systems inside our body, okay? And this is also, by the way, recorded, so you can tune back if I know this is kind of, some of it's very scientific sometimes, but these systems within our body all work in their own way, and they are controlled by the nervous system. So all of these systems have their own needs and own communications. And these systems can either be on or off, right? So they're either active or inactive, or somewhere in between. So how can we show this then? So our systems are either activated or deactivated. So for example, when you're running, right, you need to run, which means your heart system, your breathing system, they're all in the go mode, okay? Whereas you don't need to digest right now, so that's going to be in the stop mode. So all of these systems can have, it's like a switch, it's like a light switch, can be on or off. So we can actually draw them something like this. Some of them are green, some of them are red. Some are green, some are red, some are green, some are red. So it really varies. And the system which is controlling, which is like the mother system, is the nervous system. That's the one that's controlling all these. So what I'm going to do now is scare you, okay? Because now we have a computer. This is the basic system of a computer and how it works. I don't know much about computers, to be honest, but this is a schematic diagram. So here is how our body works. It's like a computer. I'm going to show you, I'm explaining to you now the pie chart in a different way. Here we have a computer screen, a mouse, a keyboard, some storage there, some more storage on the right, some RAM. And on the bottom, we have a camera, a speaker, and a mic. And in the middle, we have the CPU, the processor, or the GPU. So the guy in the middle is the one tasked with controlling everything. So he will say, okay, right now, for example, I'm recording this. He'll be like, okay, so we actually need all the systems on. So this guy is actually working really hard right now. So he is your nervous system. He's the one controlling all the other systems. So this guy is a busy guy, right? And this is the guy controlling everything. So this is the guy that you want to try to control because he's the one controlling the micro variables. How is he doing it? He's doing it by telling which one to be on and which one to be off. Okay. So this on and off switch is also known as your fight or flight system or your rest and digest. But it doesn't matter. You don't need to exactly know what that is. For the time being, if you do, you do good. So now if we look at this again, so back to the pie chart. So some systems are on, some systems are off. And this is so when the systems are on, they're giving signals of off or on, okay? So now we're going to arrange it a little differently. I'll just move my little face out of the way or not. Okay. I'm sorry, you're just not going to see that nervous system. So now we're going to replace those with squares. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the digestive system is here. It's having a red signal. It means it's off, right? According to our diagram earlier, right? So some of these systems are on, some of these systems are off. So all of these systems will give an overall signal. Okay. So this guy is red overall. He's going to send a red signal overall. He'll fire that to the CPU or your nervous system, right? They're all going to send this signal, this overall signal to the system. Okay. And then what's going to happen is your body systems or then your nervous system is going to take a whole overall of all these, and that's going to give you a feeling. And that's going to give you what it feels like, or this emotion that you're experiencing, or however it is you're feeling, stressed, anxious, or what. So this is an overall flavor of what's going on in all the systems below you. Okay. So having a control over these systems is what is the flow state, right? So the solution. Ta-da. So someone who is untrained, okay? So someone who's just casually going about their life, not really worrying about anything at all until an issue occurs, is kind of limited by their ups and downs or their cylinder, okay? And through life, through experiences, the boundaries will increase as their, skill increases, as we said in the diagram earlier. And then someone who wants to improve, okay? So how can you improve yourself now? Okay, your ability to handle these situations. The first thing is to realize when you're starting to step out the cylinder. Okay, it's a case of audit. Okay, you need to do an audit process written down. So you need to write down how you act or what happens when you're going into these areas, when you're stepping outside your cylinder. Okay, and then you need to also start writing down what you are experiencing or feeling when you're going outside of your cylinder. Okay, so what's going on when or what are you doing? What do you do with your hands? Do your palms get sweaty? Do you start picking your nails? Do you start clenching? So once a candidate has, or a patient has kind of like figured out this area, then we do exercises to basically hyper increase the cylinder very quickly and with specific techniques. And basically what will happen is you'll become more flexible. The micro variables will affect you less. So someone who is, I'm going to show it to you in another way now. So if you look at the micro variables of the guy on the left, is quite up and down. I'm not saying he's unstable, but he's not really in control of the nervous system or the systems below that. But someone who's had training is more stable, right? So this is often what people in sales do, right? People who are, car salesmen, right? What they'll do is they'll match your energy or they'll increase their energy. So they have the ability to increase their energy state. So you're now in a situation where you're not normally at this energy state. So now you've gone up and now you're excited, right? It's exciting to hang out with this person and buy this car, and you're more chance to do a spontaneous purchase or get into an agreement that you wouldn't have otherwise. So a lot of salespeople will automatically try to match the energy. And this is also a sign of leadership. This is a lot of great leaders, they have the ability with the flexibility to be able to change the status of their system very quickly and easily to match the person they're talking to or the situation. But yet they can also come down after, which is the main thing. So now a question for you guys. What do you guys do before, during, or after you get stressed? Do you have any techniques or anything you guys do? Okay, no worries. I'll go through them. Okay, we got a chat. The physiologicals. Ah, I see. Yeah, that is something that works. Yeah, that is true. That is something that works, and I do that too as well. Also, so we I categorize things that you can do for to manage your systems to before, during, and after. So this is dependent on, how long it is. Obviously, during work, you can't just all of a sudden start during work, you can't just, oh dear. Oh dear. Why is this not going away? Okay. Yeah, so during work, you obviously can't start breathing, It's not very constructive if you're having a meeting. And yeah, for sure, exercise after is a great thing. I got to a point where I would do every morning, I would go to the sauna and do exercise and everything, but I couldn't control my mind. That was my issue. So I would always end up getting stressed anyway. But definitely thinking about it before, during, and after is something that's very important. Before, rhythmic breathing for 10 minutes is something that will change the outlook of the day for you. To sit there and breathe 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, 10 minutes at the start of the day, getting into that habit will definitely do a big change. During, again, I don't recommend during. During is not really something that I advocate, but sometimes, positive reinforcement, telling yourself that you can do it 5 times, 10 times out loud will invoke the dopamine system, which will make you feel good and counteract that. And after as well, you guys have noticed exercise is a great one. That's because you've been in a high, yeah, that's true. Yeah, your thoughts have an effect on the nervous system as well. It literally will change your energy state. But even after, if you know you've been in a high energy state, that means you have energy around your system. So exercise will often release all that. But yeah. So let's keep going for the final push. So what do we do for a lift, right? What do us humans do? So you want to start your day, you want to get into work, right? So you want to lift your energy levels so you can handle the situation better. It's like a cheat, but there's nothing wrong with it. So what we can do is, what humans do is we use stimulants. And these are legal drugs. I mean, not cocaine, obviously. Caffeine and nicotine are the two most commonly, and cocaine as well. So these are the most commonly used stimulant drugs. And they are drugs. Coffee is a drug. It lasts for like, 16 hours in the system. So it does have an effect for a long time. So when you come home from work, the energy is still floating around the system. But these drugs are an aid and they do help. However, at some point, everyone has to come down. And the ups and downs are not in minutes, but often in days, months, or years. Okay, this can happen. You can sustain this for a long time. Your body is very strong. So in summary of this sexy cylinder, we said that we have the high energy state, the low energy state. Okay, and this is what we do to describe this energy state is what we're trying to say is a communication of our humans or mammals. I sound almost not human when I say mammals. So if we zoom in, we can see this particular person has a very shallow cylinder. Okay, so they are not, let's say the flow state is not great, or they're not operating in a smooth line. So they'll feel that they're low, or something will happen and you will feel like, oh, I'm struggling with motivation, maybe Monday, and you'll feel good, and maybe you'll have a coffee and then maybe lunch, and then you'll have a crash. Okay. So one of these times when you have these crashes, these ups and downs, one will be very large, you know, and at some point you'll maybe crash into the low energy state and you'll feel a little low. And then you could also feel unmotivated at this point. And then for some people, like myself, it ends up being a midlife crisis. And what happens is, you know, you start questioning everything because you've gone so low. It's a bit, why am I feeling this way almost? Like, what's going on? And this is something that I'm, passionate about. So it's important to relax, right? That is the moral of the story. So now before we go on to the last bit, maybe do a little stretch. I don't know. I wish I had a drink here, but I don't, as it is. So let's keep going for the final little 10 minutes. So as I said earlier, we're going to look at the childhood area now, how the childhood is related to all this. So just some words about this again. So this is I've shown this diagram to show your nervous system. This is the activated nervous system is in green, and in red is the activated mode. The green mode is sometimes called fight or flight, and the red mode is called rest and digest. It can also be called the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system for anyone who's a sciencey one. So what happens is through the day or through months or something, and this is what's controlling the microvariable, the system will get activated, okay? And you'll slide into the activated mode, and the systems below, like, the red, green ones, will be color coordinated accordingly. So you have been doing this since you were young. So since you were a young child, since you were able to walk, even before that, you've been picking up stuff from the people around you on how your nervous system should behave. And this forms, part of your personality. So as an example, we're going to look at this kid falling over, which can look funny at the start, right? Kids fall over and it happens. However, if you notice, when the kid falls in that moment, okay, what is the kid done? So the kid has fallen over and the systems inside have been subjected to, a change of situation. There's been impact. Something has happened. And the first thing the child will do is look to the caregivers or the parents for affirmation of, is this okay? I'm receiving a signal from the nervous system here. Something has happened. Is this okay? So in this scenario, the nervous system is scanning the parent's facial expression and checking, is this bad? Do I need to shift into this? How far into this green mode, right? How far into this green mode do I need to shift? Is it game over situation? Or is it just a little bit, And it's gauging, and the child is gauging that from your reaction or how you're reacting. So if a parent is a very scared parent, or someone, no offense to any scared parents out here, but parent who's like quite controlling, or parent who is very let's say scared of the child falling over because the parent knows that the dirt is dirty or has bacteria there, which is nothing wrong with that, the mom will instantly start shouting, oh, get up, get up, and the child will receive this as energy of, whoa, this is bad. Okay, so this is how the child will start learning how to react to situations. In your early years, your body relies on external cues of safety. What does that mean? That means your nervous system is learning how to behave from the people around you or your caregivers. Okay. So how can your nervous system adapt badly, right? How can your nervous system learn badly? Do we know now in science how we can actually measure this? Yes, we do. It's not a gray area anymore. Okay. So we're going to go over it in a second. So actually what happens is, to someone who is a high stress, high anxiety person, is they're very good. Look, they're very good at sliding into this high energy place. They can do it so quick. You can fly over there like I can. However, if you look at your arrow going left is massive, but the top one is not very good because you weren't really shown this. You haven't had many examples of this. So for myself, I'm very successful on the academic front and the work front, and, financially, I can do all these things, but however, I can't do the other things because my nervous system isn't set up like that. So for me to go back is a really slow process because I don't have that, my arrow going back is not strong enough. I haven't trained it, and I haven't like, for me to train that back arrow is very difficult. So how can this adaptation happen to our nervous system or our systems inside us? Okay. We can say there's three categories: shock, developmental, and other. So in shock, okay, we can say a parent disappearance can be shocking for the child because now he's not, he or she is not receiving that signal anymore. That person was giving the child cues of safety and is now disappeared. Also a change in environment. If you move a child from a school to a new school, that new environment can be shocking. Those people that the child was familiar with, the child knew those cues of safety. So the nervous system knew what was safe and not. So now it has to learn it all again. Assault, of course, natural disaster and car accident is the same. Your nervous system is, it feels like it has to evade it. So it's going to go into a high energy state. So all of these things will require your nervous system to go into a high energy state. Okay. Chronic adversity. If if the child or the young person has been exposed to a lot of stress through their life, for example, they've been moving a lot, haven't had a stable house, been, for example, traveling around a lot, that's chronic adversity. Okay, maybe the child didn't have a roof over their head. They will have to be in this survival state, this activated state more often. They'll be in the green mode and won't be able to, they don't really know how to relax because they weren't really showed that. Abuse and neglect, of course, shouldn't need any explaining. Also, a general lack of safety. If you live in a situation where there's lions floating around, or, you don't know if you're going to survive the next hour, of course, the nervous system is not going to be able to go into that safe mode. You're going to just be really good at going into the green mode. So, and that's just a, survival instinct sort of thing. And we also have other things like childhood medical procedures, adverse communities, and also intergenerational issues. So this is a very common one, which is not actually spoken about much at all. So this is something that I'm passionate about, actually. Not that the other ones are not fixable, but this is when, for example, your parents or the family or the culture, their communication style of safety is different to that of the environment that you're being brought up in. So when there's a mismatch between school and home, the cues of safety for that young person is quite confusing. And this can be characterized as actually a chronic adversity. So all of these situations can actually cause your nervous system to become, like we said, super strong at going to the left. And that's all it is, right? It's not some scary thing. It's not some, big event. It's just your nervous system, it's just how it's learned to do it. So the actual, in fact, is you have to train how to actually relax. But the reason you won't be successful is because there's a million ways to do it, and B, that system is so weak that you have to train it with a pinpoint. You have to get it with like a microscope because it's really hard to train. It's like watering a plant which is like basically on its last legs. Watering it specific like regimens and giving it those extra nutrients is really important. So the floating back into the rest mode is something that can be learned and just takes, it takes time. So hopefully you're all with me still. Thanks for paying attention, and hopefully you have a little idea about